Welcome back everyone, Acid Glow here. I've gone through my older videos regarding lore around other film franchises, and like the previous video I did around The Predator, this one will be a 1-hour special around other films. You will see topics around RoboCop, Underworld, Terminator, Godzilla, War of the Worlds, Species, and a few others. As usual, I will leave a timestamp. This way it's easier to find a topic you want to see. There are a lot of other stories I've looked at, so there will be a part 2 in the future. I know it's hard to go through a playlist to find these topics, so perhaps a 1-hour video is easier for you. If you want to see more content like this, just subscribe. And if you enjoy these videos, I would appreciate a like rating. Thanks for watching and enjoy the video. What is the Octolus creature in the movie Deep Rising? Many legends speak of the tale about ships being lost in the South China Sea, an area where an underwater canyon is so deep that it can hide mountains and remains unexplored by man. As many vessels have been lost in this area, their disappearance is still a mystery. The monster was encountered on the cruise ship the Argonautica. During a storm, the ship's navigations were sabotaged and the creature attacked the ship from below. A group of mercenaries had planned to intercept the Argonautica and rob the vault. They hired Captain Finnegan and his crew to transport them to an undisclosed location in the sea to find the cruise ship has stopped. They boarded the ship to find nobody on board, but only find traces of blood. Now at first, it appeared as a number of tentacles that looked like giant worms with teeth. It was seen to swallow a man whole, and then it would digest them with acid in its body, but only spit out the bones. As their team starts to get killed off, some survivors are found, and they all get chased throughout the ship by these creatures. And its full form was later revealed when the survivors came across piles of skeletal remains. Its head showed 2 eyes and a large mouth with many teeth, and the creatures that killed the other people were actually its tentacles that were part of its body. This creature showed some form of intelligence by chasing its prey into traps or dead ends. Now it was shown that firearms were very effective at pushing the tentacles away, and it would retreat from fire. It is believed to spend most of its time in the deepest parts of the sea and is rarely seen on the surface. Some people have speculated that it was a giant cephalopod that evolved to a massive size while in the trenches of the sea. Now the beginning of the movie does show sunken ships all in the same area, but each one is from a different period in time. So it's possible the Octolus monster is centuries old, but only attacks ships that come into its territory. This creature was eventually killed by a bomb exploding within the cruise ship, but at the end of the movie, the survivors made their way to a nearby island, only to hear the loud roar of something very large. It is unknown if it was another Octolus, but one thing's for sure. It was something they've never seen before. So what do you think this creature was? Put your ideas in the comments section. If you want to see more content like this, then subscribe to my channel and enable notifications. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the human-alien hybrids in the movie Species? Now the first subject was named Sil, who was created through the fertilization of a human ovum and mixing it with alien DNA. She was shown to grow and mature at an increased speed. This species is known to walk on 2 legs, which makes them a bipedal being, but Patrick in the second movie was shown to have a second form during combat. He morphed into a quadrupedal creature that walked on 4 limbs. He was also able to separate his head, which revealed a tentacle that can be used for impregnating females or to attack. The females, however, are shown to use their tongue within their mouths as a weapon. They also have breast tentacles, and some horns were seen to protrude on the side of their head. These aliens have a skeletal and transparent body, while their hair look like tentacles. They are known to be physically stronger than humans, and also have the urge to mate and reproduce quickly. Their hostile behavior was shown to be very extreme, mostly leading to the death of the victim. Not only can they morph between their human and alien form, they also possess incredible regeneration abilities, which means they would need to suffer severe damage to their bodies in order for them to be killed. Now their backs were seen to have spines that can extend outward as a weapon. Their appearance can closely resemble a reptile, and they are able to remain underwater for a lot longer than humans. As the female gives birth, their chest cavity will open up as the newborn is released. Now their cocoon stage was shown to take place between the stage of a child morphing into an adult. This growth happens very quickly, so it is believed this cocoon is required during this phase. Now during this phase, it does become a stationary target. It cannot move. However, the cocoon can still defend itself with some tentacles if it feels threatened. Now a professor named Herman Cromwell claimed that this species was from another galaxy that could sustain other carbon-based life forms. He also believed that this race was on Mars millions of years ago until they wiped out all the other life forms. Then the remains were left in the soil, which ended up being frozen. This information was later linked to the events in the second movie. There have been 4 movies around this franchise. The first one is around the SETI project receiving 2 messages from outer space. The first message was a formula to create an unlimited source of energy by the use of methane, while the second message contained the DNA code of an alien and instructions on how to merge it with human DNA. Syl did give birth to 1 alien offspring, but they were both killed by the end of the film. The second movie takes place when a team of astronauts visit Mars. Upon collecting soil samples from this planet, this material then thaws out on the ship and attaches itself to the crew, but only 2 out of the 3 are infected. Also, a clone of Syl was created to be more controllable, and her name was Eve. She was created as a way to combat the alien species if they ever returned. One astronaut named Patrick goes on to spawn half-breeds through various women, and hides them at his father's ranch, with most of them getting killed off. The other astronaut named Anna, who was infected, died giving birth to a half-breed which was also killed. Eve used her telepathic powers to track Patrick down, but by near the end of the film, they both mate in their alien forms. Eve is killed by Patrick, and then a man named Press uses a pitchfork coated with the blood from Dennis, who was the third astronaut. The illness in Dennis's blood is what ends up killing Patrick in his alien form. Now the third film continues the story after the second movie. Even though Eve died, her body gave birth to an alien that is more pure. Its name is Sarah. The story has some half-breed aliens who are dying because of their faulty DNA of hybridization. Then 2 men named Dean and Abbott harvest Sarah's eggs and try to find a cure for the dying half-breeds. In the end, one half-breed battles against Sarah and it's killed, but Sarah survives the battle, and a mate is created for her so she's not alone. However, this alien is sterile, so it will not be able to reproduce. The fourth film is about Miranda, who is a dying hybrid that was under the care of Tom Hollander since she was a child. He injects her with hormones to extend her life, but this causes an imbalance in her sexual nature, and her alien side starts to take over. Tom seeks the help of an old friend named Forbes, who helped him create Miranda back in their college years. They also meet Azura, who was also created by Forbes. At some point in the story, Forbes has sex with Miranda, and a creature starts to grow inside her womb. Near the end of the film, Azura is killed off, but Miranda suffers a fatal blow. At this point, Tom lights the place on fire and destroys all the evidence. Now the one thing that all these aliens seem to share is the requirement of a perfect host that is not sick. They tend to reject a mate if they carry a virus or disease. They have a special sense that tells them who is the perfect host or perfect mate. Now this requirement is also displayed by the chemical that is thawed out on the astronaut's ship in the second movie. Since Dennis was sick, he did not become infected. Now the original story about this creature was brought up in 1987, and it was then going under the name of The Message, but this name alone was not enough to attract the attention of the studios, so it was rewritten, and this led to the film in 1995. There are also a few comic books and novels about this. Now the novel of the first movie explained how the signal received by humans was sent through black holes as a way of hiding its source of origin. This could mean that this alien species might control advanced technology. The second novel also mentions that this species was on Mars billions of years ago until they used up all of its natural resources and moved on. This alien was designed by H.R. Giger, who also designed the Xenomorph for the Alien movies. So what do you think of this alien species? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. My name is Asaglow, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the creatures in the movie The Descent? They were named simply as crawlers, but only referred in the movie as things. Although their origins were not fully explained, it seems they've been around for thousands of years. and some humans were even aware of their cannibalistic ways for some time. Now their anatomy closely resembles humans, which would explain why they are listed as human subspecies with males, females, and children within the colony. During the time they spent living in the caves, they adapted to living in this environment. They were seen as a feral, primal species that always lived in deep caves, and there were even many chambers within, each one serving a different purpose, like one for feeding, drinking, and defecating, which shows that the creatures have some form of intelligence by having separate locations, and each one has its own use. There were still two genders within the crawler species, male and female. While the females had a large amount of head hair, the males had none at all. Now, similar to bats, they hunted by sound, but also by smell. These adaptations were so acute that they could hunt in complete darkness. Because living in the caves has very poor lighting from the sun, the crawlers had grown accustomed to hunting by this method. Although, if any unfortunate human was to stumble upon this creature inside a cave, they could use sound as a distraction, like rocks, radios, or anything that emits a sound. And for being great hunters, they were also seen as expert climbers, able to scale any rock surface within the cave. Although they are well adapted to hunt in dark areas, they were also seen to kill animals on ground level and drag them into the caves for feeding. The ending of the second movie showed Ed dragging the body of Rios to the cave entrance. This could imply that Ed was possibly trying to keep the crawlers at bay. Just by leaving them food, it could be a means of not letting the crawlers venture too far into places with humans. Now, in the second movie, their design underwent some small changes to make them more inbred, scarred, and deformed. They received rows of shark-like teeth used for ripping flesh. Their faces seem to be a combination of a golem and a vampire with pointy ears. And part of the set was designed to house any leftover bones. It was called the Crawler Crapper. The crawlers were also listed as part of the Troglophiles subgroup. These are cave-dwelling creatures that have a complete life cycle in the cave system, but they can also hunt and survive above the ground. These creatures were also described as cavemen that never left the caves. This was mentioned by director Neil Marshall. So if you've seen these movies, what do you think about the crawlers? Let me know in the comments section. If you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the monsters in the movie The Cave? Its origins were linked to a virus that laid within a Romanian cave system that dated back to the 13th century. A group that uncovers this ends up getting trapped when they set off explosives that cause the nearby mountain to collapse on the site. And 30 years later, it's found again by a team of archaeologists. As they are excavating the cave, they come across images of the Knights Templar, along with creatures that look like winged demons. Once an organism is infected by this virus, it enters the bloodstream and reproduces quickly. This would cause radical changes to the anatomy of the host. It would change into a monstrous creature with evolutionary adaptations that would help it survive in their enclosed environment. The mutation caused the wings to form under the arms, and the legs were left as simple supporting appendages. This would mean that the bulk of the movement performed was done by the arms themselves. Now, in a featurette video, it was mentioned that the script of the movie did not fully explain what the creatures were going to look like, but they were simply known to have bat-like properties. It was supposed to have some type of resemblance to humans in some way as well, like having humanoid shoulders, arms, and even vestigial molars in their jaws. The intention was to make the creature scary by having it take some traits from a human as well. They were very large and known to fly and swim. The creature showed some form of intelligence by laying traps and stealing important supplies from their victims. This mutation would lead them to hunt by echolocation and a heightened sense of smell. Their echolocation ability is described as sending out sound waves, and as they bounce off a target or surface, the monster is able to see an outline of everything. This makes them great hunters in complete darkness. This method of hunting is similar to what is used by bats. They also have sensory whisks sprouting from their backs, which is used to identify their location. Now, the large crest on their head is where the sound frequencies are sent out and received. But since they are seen only in dark caves, they are very sensitive to bright light and focused sonic waves. Another interesting fact about the creature is that they have two jaws, an external and internal set of jaws. They are both able to move independently from each other, and this was meant to give the creature a more natural look. Now, aside from the mutated human creatures, there were also different fish and animals within the cave as well. There were signs of mutated versions of moles, a salamander, and eels. There was a scene with a scorpion which was done digitally, and aside from the suits of the creature, they also made some models in CG. The original plan was to use very less of the CG creature and rely more on the costume to give an authentic and realistic look. But later on, the director and producer were so impressed with the CG version, and in turn, they started to use more CG than they initially planned. And the co-founder of Luma Pictures, which was Payam Shodhai, even mentioned that he was very satisfied with the work they did on the creature. And at the time, it was the most impressive piece of work they completed before Underworld Evolution. Now, even though the virus would infect creatures within the cave, there was speculation that the virus was trying to escape into the world. This was hinted at the end of the movie when one of the three survivors showed signs of carrying the virus inside her, but she disappeared before she could be stopped. So that covers the monster in the movie The Cave. What do you think about its design and hunting abilities? Do you think it's an original monster? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. If you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and enable notifications. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. The sons of the Corvinus clan, one bitten by bat, one by wolf, and one to walk the lonely road of mortality as a human. This clan in the Underworld franchise was led by Alexander Corvinus. He was a Hungarian warlord back in the 5th century, and during his time, a plague had spread through his village, and something in his blood had a different reaction to it. Instead of becoming infected and dying like the rest, something in his immune system was able to stop the plague from infecting his body. He was able to mold it, adapt to it, and use it to his benefit. In the end, he was the only survivor and became the first true immortal. He would later pass this trait to 3 sons, but only William and Marcus were born with the active mutation which granted them super strength and immortality. And according to the novel, these 2 brothers were out one night when a wolf attacked them, but it only bit William. William would then become the first werewolf, and Marcus was later bitten by a bat, which turned him into the first vampire. While Marcus was able to control his transformation, his brother William was unable to do the same. He would always be seen in his werewolf state, full of rage and the intent to kill. When William was loose, he would infect many people, and some of his dead victims would be brought back to life as werewolves. The world would soon be full of uncontrollable werewolves, so Marcus hatched a plan. He approached Victor, who was a dying warlord. He offered him immortality in exchange to create an army of vampires to combat the growing number of werewolves. His army would later capture William and condemn him to imprisonment for all of time. His location was kept a secret from Marcus, and the 2 keys to his cell were always in plain sight of Victor. And even though Victor commanded an army, he would not dare attack Marcus. As legend says, if he dies, all the other vampires would die with him. Marcus would later find the location of William's prison through the memories passed down in Celine's blood. Now, the 3rd son of Corvinus did carry the special gene, but it laid in a dormant state, so he never experienced what it was like to be immortal. Instead, he lived a normal life, and not much is known about him. But it is believed that through him, the pure form of the Corvinus strain was passed down through generations in its dormant state, right down to Michael Corvin. This strain then comes into contact with 2 mutations. He is bitten by Lucian and Celine, which turns him into the first hybrid. Now, Alexander Corvinus did have a mortal wife, and after she died, he would make a statue in her image and place it in his ship that shared her name. The novel of the first movie even mentions that Alexander was grateful that she died so she would not see the monsters her 2 sons would become. This ship also served as a base for Alexander as he watched over the war between the vampires and Lycans, only moving around in secret as he cleaned up the mess, trying to prevent humanity from discovering what was really going on. He would hide throughout centuries by going under a different name. While Victor was head of the Coven, he even tries to change history by trying to be known as the first vampire, even though this honor belonged to Marcus. He would go on to banish the vampire historian known as Andreas Tanis, who was one of the few people still alive to know the true history of the Corvinus clan. And because of how Victor manipulated politics, this tale would then go down as a ridiculous legend. After Alexander died by the hands of his own son Marcus, Selene would find him holding on to life, but before he dies, Selene drinks his blood. This would give her the active Corvinus strain directly from him. In turn, she would be granted more strength and the ability to survive exposure to sunlight. With her powers being increased, she was able to defeat Marcus, and the hybrid Michael ended up killing William. Selene and Michael would later have a child together by the name of Eve. She was a hybrid of an immortal, vampire, and lichen. Despite his sons becoming monsters, Alexander Corvinus was unwilling to kill his own sons to prevent all of this. The legend of the Corvinus clan was one of my favorite parts in the Underworld story. It explains where immortal vampires and lichens came from. So if you're a fan of the Underworld franchise, which movie was your favorite? Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What is the creature Godzilla, and where does it come from? Seen as one of the most iconic creatures in monster films, Godzilla was a new idea back in the 1950s during its original movie. Its name alone was sometimes pronounced as Gojira, which is a combination of two Japanese words that mean gorilla and whale. Now, during an early stage of its development, this was seen as the best way to describe the creature in terms of its physical features. Its Japanese name was a mix of Gorira and Kujira, but then its name was changed during an English transliteration. It was then named Godzilla, but to this day, many fans still call it Gojira. Godzilla was seen to walk on its two large legs, similar to a theropod, and its tail gets dragged on the ground. The skin on its body is seen to be a dark green color, with some parts being thicker than other areas. This could be from radiation exposure. Its back is shown to have a large row of dorsal spines, which are white in color. Its eyes are also white with large pupils, alongside a very large mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. Now, its early design did include fangs, but this idea was dropped in later iterations. It also has long arms, claws, and a thumb for gripping onto things. The filmmakers actually took inspiration from various dinosaurs to shape Godzilla's body. It can sometimes be heard from a very long distance when it lets out a loud roar. But its most iconic feature is the atomic breath that comes from its mouth. The dorsal plates on its back are sometimes seen to glow with energy prior to this attack. It is also known to have incredible regenerative abilities. The original film back in 1954 had stated, "The origins of Godzilla were that of a prehistoric reptile that survived on land and sea. It would spend most of its time underwater for sleeping and feeding, and this would last millions of years. And during this time period, it was known as Godzillasaurus. But when it came into contact with an American hydrogen bomb during a test, it was exposed to the radiation, and this made the creature grow to an enormous size. The story also mentions that it was from the Jurassic Age, and it lived amongst other members of the same species, but they were killed off by the bomb, and only this specimen survived at that time. This enraged the creature to attack humanity. This was seen as the perfect opportunity to study the creature. Their motive was trying to find a cure for radiation sickness. The first Godzilla was around 50 meters high and weighing close to 20,000 metric tons. The story mentions the original Godzilla was killed in the first movie with the weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer. It was made up of a chemical composition that included micro-oxygen atoms that would disintegrate any material. The remains of Godzilla were later picked up by the government and converted into the biorobot named Kiryu, which we all know as Mecha Godzilla. It would later fight against a second Godzilla that showed up. They would battle in two separate movies, and in both occasions, the spirit of the original Godzilla would awaken within Mecha Godzilla, and it was unwilling to kill one of its own kind. This film also showed Godzilla would feed off the nuclear power plant's energy, possibly indicating that it was attracted to radioactive material. There were some occasions where Godzilla was seen to fight alongside humans against a common threat, but during that time, it makes no effort to protect human life. It will attack anything. Therefore, it is seen as a god of destruction, and after all the chaos, a time of rebirth occurs, where humans survive and rebuild. There have been many creatures that fought against Godzilla throughout the movies, but it is still known as the King of Monsters. So if you've seen the Godzilla movies, which one is your favorite? Let me know your response in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, then subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on. I also have a Patreon page for any fans that want to support my channel that way. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. The T-1000, also known as the Prototype Series 1000 Terminator. Introduced to us in the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This Terminator was sent back in time to track and kill John Connor when he was a child. It was created by Skynet, and its body is comprised of liquid metal. Now at the core, the material makeup is a form of mimetic polyalloy nanorobotics. This allows it to shapeshift into anything it touches. Now, although its mass is limited, it can only morph into objects of equal size. It is not able to morph into firearms, chemicals, or a bomb. The ability to mimic other people gives it deceptive abilities amongst other humans and allows it to infiltrate high security zones. In most cases, it will mimic the body and appearance of a recently killed victim during its mission. Its body is able to form bladed weapons, either for attacking or for breaking objects or opening doors. Because of its liquid metal body and its nanorobotic technology, the T-1000 is able to quickly heal its wounds. Small wounds are healed almost instantly, while damage from explosives will take longer to heal. Now, if a part of the T-1000 is blown off, that piece will reattach itself. Now, its design is more advanced than the T-800 models and appears to be immune to mechanical damage. Its shape-shifting ability allows it to walk through cages or even through thin crevices, which means it cannot be trapped by normal methods. Although firearms can still be used on the T-1000, they merely slow it down because of its ability to heal its wounds. Weapons like shotguns and explosives tend to cause bigger damage on the T-1000, which result in bigger holes that take longer to heal up. Now, it was also shown to chase after moving vehicles with great speed and endurance, with no signs of requiring any rest periods. Killing this Terminator is very difficult, as normal methods can only slow it down. There was a time when liquid nitrogen was used on it. The cold temperature froze its cells, which prevented them from moving. It was later shattered to pieces from gunfire. Although the immense heat from a nearby pit of molten steel warmed up its shattered body, it was able to revert back to its original form and continue its mission. Now, the T-1000 in Terminator 2 was killed at the end of the movie by being hit by a grenade launcher. The explosion was so massive that it separated the T-1000's body on a big scale. It eventually would have healed up, but it ended up falling into a pit of molten steel. The immense heat melted away the nanorobots within its body. The T-1000 was finally defeated. So what do you think about the T-1000, and which Terminator is your favorite in the series? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching. My name is Acid-Glow, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the aliens in War of the Worlds? This alien race came to Earth in an attempt to colonize it. They battled against the human race while trying to take control of the planet. Now, the original design of the aliens were bear-sized, cephalopod creatures that were only able to remain on the land. They would be limited to just crawling on the surface while reaching out with their long tentacles. Their eyes were black, and a hearing membrane was located on their back, but it did not function on Earth, possibly due to the thick atmosphere that Earth had. Although this alien race still had the capability of communicating with each other due to their telepathic powers, they are rarely seen outside of their vehicles, and it seems as if they rely on their technology as some type of artificial body, which grants them more freedom in movement. Now, when they came to Earth, they started to feed on humans. Since these aliens lack any emotion, they see all lesser beings as food or pests. This is why they kill humans with no remorse. Now, it is believed that their homeworld was free of infectious bacteria. This resulted in the aliens having very little defenses against germs, and this is how they were defeated in the end. When they invaded Earth, they came into contact with germs that killed them off. Their technology proved to be superior to ours in many ways. Their laser weapons were classified as heat rays, which is why they would disintegrate a target very quickly. They also created a black smoke weapon that kills instantly when inhaled, but it was not effective in water. The black smoke was modified to remain on the ground level because it was a heavy gas, and since the aliens attacked from their tripod machines, it would not affect them. The 1953 movie had the same storyline, while the design of the aliens were different. The TV series had also expanded on their origins. They were said to come from the Pleiades cluster and were later on labeled as Mortaxans. They also introduced a new design to the tripod ships that were once again equipped with the heat laser beams. They had a design similar to a manta ray. Then, the remake of the movie in 2005 changed their design again. This time, it had a head that resembled a squid, along with some black eyes. They had one leg in the back, two large arms in the front, and two smaller arms in their lower torso. This version seemed more menacing than the previous ones. Now, the technology consisted of mostly the giant tripod vehicles with tentacles, and at least one of those tentacles had a camera, which was used for scanning an area, either for more humans to capture or for the aliens to explore when it was clear of any threat. This model also had a storage basket that was meant to contain humans that were captured, and also had a suction tube and a tentacle that would pull humans up to get eaten. Now, over the many adaptations of War of the Worlds, both the alien itself and the tripod vehicle they pilot were changed in various ways. My favorite designs were the ones used in the 2005 movie. But what about you? Did you like any of these designs? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and enable notifications so you know when I upload a video. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What is King Ghidorah in the Godzilla universe? Its physical appearance is seen as a three-headed dragon with two legs. Its wings are bat-like in nature, and it has two tails. The body of the creature is gold in color, and it has no arms. The idea of three heads was inspired by a mythical Japanese creature called Yamato no Orochi, which was originally an 8-headed serpent dragon. It was also a stronger version of the monster known as Desghidorah, who traveled to Mars and destroyed everything, which turned it into a wasteland. The word Ghidorah comes from the Japanese word Hydra, which is Hydora. Now, its weight, height, and wingspan have changed over various movies, but its maximum height was listed as being up to 150 meters, with a wingspan of 175 meters and weighing up to 70,000 tons. Now, the powers of this monster were the ability to fly, and it could fire gravity beams from its mouth, and it could also generate magnetic fields when it landed on Earth from within a meteor, which is how it travels to other planets. It was later seen to create domes that would eat its victims, and this energy would transfer to King Ghidorah and make him stronger. It was also seen to fire lightning bolts from its wings, and even if it was killed or dismembered in some way, King Ghidorah had the power of regeneration. One other version of Ghidorah was seen to electrocute an enemy with its teeth, and it could absorb the spirits of dead monsters. This would allow it to form an energy shield to deflect Godzilla's atomic ray. Its wings were so powerful that it could create hurricanes. And although its body was armored, some energy attacks would only burn it, but the skin on the wings had a thin layer which could be seen as its weak point. Now, another version of King Ghidorah was seen to shoot fireballs, but this version was the one in the Cretaceous period. Now, the origins of King Ghidorah are different across various sources. At first, it was believed to be an alien because it traveled to different planets. Its corpse was found on Venus and preserved by the Futurian species. In another story, the Futurian species created three Dorat creatures that were engineered by King Ghidorah's DNA on Venus. They were placed in the location of the bomb testing site back in the 1950s. Then, they teleported Godzilla away from this location, and instead, the three Dorat creatures were exposed to the radiation, and it would create King Ghidorah. So this version was merely a clone of the original. And later on, it was noted as being the Yamato no Orochi, but it was slain by Japanese warriors thousands of years ago. Its body was placed under Mount Fuji, and over time, it would regenerate. But it was awakened before it could grow back all of its 8 heads, so it only grew back 3 and was named King Ghidorah. There was also an alien race called Garogas, who claimed to be the creators of King Ghidorah, and even controlled its actions when they arrived on Earth. But the creator of Godzilla, Tomoyuki Tanaka, had come out and said King Ghidorah was of extraterrestrial origin. After a battle with Godzilla, it was killed off, and its body landed in the sea, but it was recovered and then turned into Mecha King Ghidorah, and this was for the future. But it was then teleported to the present day to fight against Godzilla in an attempt to protect Japan. This version was piloted by Emi Kano, who is part of the Futurian species, but after Mecha King Ghidorah was defeated by Godzilla, its technology was recovered and later used to create Mecha Godzilla. Now, in the movie Godzilla 2 King of Monsters, their timeline dating back to 2016 showed that King Ghidorah was found frozen within the Antarctic ice. A research facility was built around the dormant creature, and a classified footnote said, "The devil has 3 heads." So that's a look at some history about King Ghidorah. What is your favorite monster in the Godzilla universe? Let me know in the comments section. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel and enable notifications so you know when I upload a video. Thanks for watching. My name is Acid Glow, and I'll see you in the next video. What is the Ed 209 robot in the movie RoboCop? Also known by its other name, the Enforcement Droid Series 209. This robot was first programmed for urban pacification and served as OCP's peacekeeping machines. It was seen as the future of law enforcement. The robot was fully automated to run on a set of parameters and guidelines. It was one of the most expensive projects alongside the RoboCop program, but it failed to impress the board of executives when it malfunctioned during a test run. It blasted Mr. Kinney with multiple rounds of live ammunition. Dr. McNamara and his technicians had to pull out a core to stop Ed 209, and because of this failure, all funding was then put towards the RoboCop program. The Ed 209 is armed with 3 automatic cannons. 2 of them are on its left arm, and 1 is on the right arm along with an auto shotgun. If additional firepower is required, it also has access to a rocket launcher that can fire up to 3 rockets. It also has special programming for melee combat. Now, for a robot that is meant to uphold the law, it uses different types of voices. A human voice for peacekeeping matters, an animal roar when it's angry, and a squealing sound is heard when it fell down the stairs and couldn't get back up. Now, it does have some weaknesses. It was shown to have trouble walking down a set of stairs, and it is susceptible to hackers gaining control of Ed 209 by the use of serial ports on one of its legs. RoboCop did battle against the Ed 209 when he tried to arrest Dick Jones. He was shot by Ed's automatic cannons and then hit by one of its arms. But during this battle, RoboCop used Ed's right arm to shoot off its left arm. This caused Ed to temporarily shudder, and as RoboCop tried to run, he was fired upon with rockets. As he made his escape down a set of stairs, Ed 209 tried to follow, but his large feet could not support the small steps. It fell down the stairs and could not get back up. RoboCop would later return to OCP's building and meet Ed 209 at the entrance, only to blast it away with the Cobra cannon. Later on, it was revealed that Dick Jones was trying to push the Ed 209 into further production by making it visually appealing to investors, despite it having constant programming errors. He even stated that it did not matter if Ed 209 did not function properly, it just had to look impressive and flashy. His motive was to mass produce them for military applications, and during its development, the staff that worked on its design had stated they wanted Ed 209 to look mean and hard. They also excluded any visible eyes on the robot to give it less emotion. They looked at various designs and then mixed them all together to form its final version. Despite the Ed 209 being full of problems, Dr. McNamara did create an updated model, the Ed 260. But this model would still be plagued with failures, and he blamed it on the RoboCop program in taking most of the funding. Although it did receive some physical upgrades, its internal programming was never fixed. It was placed on the streets for traffic control, but it would sometimes fire upon civilians for things like U-turns. This decision proved to be a disaster. The 2014 remake of RoboCop did alter the design of Ed 209 slightly. Its weapons were also different. It was equipped with twin Cobra cannons and Hellfire missiles. It also had laser targeting, infrasonic cameras for recording evidence, and was powered by solar O-cells, which draws power directly from the stars. The Ed 209 was really cool when I first saw it, but my favorite is still RoboCane in RoboCop 2. So if you're a fan of the RoboCop franchise, which robot is your favorite? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, then subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the creatures in the Grabbers movie? They came to Earth in a ball of green light that fell from the sky one night. It landed in the ocean, and the Grabbers went on to attack some whales, which were later found by the residents of a remote Irish island. They were known to be hostile creatures, regardless of their life cycle. They were aliens with multiple tentacles. This would aid them on land, but they were more adapted to hunt in the water. These blood-sucking creatures would attack anything. Their food source was blood and water. The smaller ones would drain the blood from their victims through their veins. These ones were called jumpers because of their springy tails. As it feeds and begins to grow, it enters the next stage in its life cycle. In time, it would grow into an adolescent. During this stage, they will form tentacles, lose their tails, and their mouths become more developed. Then we have the larger ones that were capable of swallowing a man whole. It was also equipped with a strong set of beak-like teeth that would cut up their prey. The younger Grabbers are small enough to fit in your hand, and the larger ones were seen to be bigger than a van. With an incoming storm about to cover the island, the residents were unable to escape and had to wait it out. One weakness that seemed to work on them was alcohol, as one character in the film survived an attack because of his high alcohol blood level. It was theorized that alcohol was toxic to the Grabbers. And even though this was a weakness, one Grabber showed some intelligence when it confronted another drunk man called Smith. He thought he was protected by being drunk, but the creature threw him into the air and killed him instead of eating him. Near the end of the film, another character named O'Shea is grabbed by the creature while he's holding an alcoholic bottle. He opens it up and pours a liquid into the Grabber's mouth. It starts to get sick and throws him away. Then, Lisa uses a flare to light the Grabber on fire, and this kills the creature. The movie ends with the storm clearing up to show more Grabber eggs hatching on the beach. Although they were seen as aliens, their design resembled a combination of an octopus and a squid. It could be part of the cephalopod species. So that covers the creatures known as Grabbers. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, then subscribe to my channel and have a look at my playlist because I've covered a bunch of creatures in film and you might come across one that you like. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos and I'll see you in the next video. What started the war between the vampires and Lycans in Underworld? The story begins with Lucien being born as the first werewolf. Victor, the leader of the vampires, saw the potential in domesticating this new strain and called them Lycans. This strain of the werewolf bloodline was unlike the ones created by William Corvinus. These Lycans were able to keep their personalities and thoughts while in their werewolf form, and they could also transform back into a human. Although Lucien was a firstborn werewolf, the others like him weren't as strong. And over time, Lucien's body grew a small resistance to silver, and it took him 100 years to harness the power of transforming. Lucien was born into slavery, and their kind were created only for protecting their vampire masters during the day. Although he grew to accept his position amongst the vampires, he still wished for the day the Lycans would be seen as equals. As Lucien grew up, he fell in love with Victor's daughter, Sonia. He even saved her life from wild werewolves when he removed his collar. He was forbidden to transform without the permission of the vampires, but even with this good deed, Victor saw him as reckless and sentenced him to lashes as Sonia watched. Lucien later found a trusted friend within Andreas Tanis, the historian of the Vampire Coven. Tanis would not release the secret meetings Sonia had while Lucien was imprisoned, and soon enough she became pregnant. Victor despised the idea of a union between the vampires and Lycans. He saw Sonia's child as an abomination, and in an attempt to preserve the vampire bloodline and keep the species pure, he killed his own daughter by exposing her to sunlight, all while Lucien was chained up, stabbed with silver, and forced to watch her die. Lucien was then heartbroken and enraged from this event. He transforms and takes the necklace from Sonia's corpse and escapes. He wore it to always remember her, but he was unaware that it was half of the key to the prison that contained William Corvinus. He would later battle against Victor when the Lycans attacked the castle. Victor would try to escape but is tracked down by Lucien. As the two battle each other, Lucien ends up stabbing Victor in the mouth and his body falls into the water, but Victor survives this battle and goes into slumber. After these events, Lucian would lead the Lycans on a war against the vampires that lasted for centuries. Lucian would later go on to form a plan of becoming a hybrid. He would acquire the blood of Michael Corvin, who was a descendant of Alexander Corvinus. But before he could get his hands on the blood of the elder vampire Amelia, he was killed by Craven with silver nitrate bullets. So that was the story of how the war between vampires and Lycans started in Underworld. Are you a fan of this franchise, and who is your favorite character? Let me know in the comment section. To see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What is Biollante in the Godzilla universe? It was made by fusing Godzilla and human genes, then inserting them into a rose. The goal was to make an immortal plant because Godzilla had genes that could self-reproduce and heal. The human genes were taken from Dr. Shiragami's daughter after she passed away during an attack. He was trying to resurrect his daughter by using Godzilla's G-cells, but those genes would dominate over the others. It would then form into a giant plant with a rose for a head and a mouth at the center area. Throughout this transformation, it became a sentient creature. Erica's consciousness was still within the monster, but just faintly. As it grew in size, it remained in the lake as it sensed another creature with similar biological makeup. Godzilla was lured to it, and they battled very shortly. Biollante would use its fanged tendrils on Godzilla, but it was overpowered when Godzilla would use its atomic breath. Biollante would disintegrate into spore particles upon being defeated. It would then return again, but this time transformed even further. Its final form was larger, with a new head and the ability to spit radioactive sap from its mouth. It battled Godzilla, and for a while they were equally matched. But Biollante was severely injured when Godzilla fired its atomic breath directly into the back of her mouth. This caused Biollante to disintegrate again into energy spores and float into space. Now, after the movie ended, there was a theory that those energy spores then shifted towards a black hole. It was then exposed to energy from supernovas and merged with crystalline organisms, which evolved rapidly and formed Space Godzilla. This theory is backed up by the similarities between Space Godzilla and Biollante. They both have tusks on the side of their mouths and similar rows of teeth, but they also share the ability to break into energy spores when they take enough damage. There was also an alternate ending where Godzilla is defeated, and when Biollante moves in to finish it off, the spirit of Erica takes control of Biollante and it turns into energy spores. It then sacrifices its life and energy to heal Godzilla and brings it back to life. In some way, you could see Biollante as Godzilla's sister, since it does carry the same genes. Now, in the comics, Biollante made a lot of appearances. It was brought back by Dr. Oniyama, and it was simply named Biollante Neo. It was defeated by Megalon's lightning attack, and so its DNA was used to create King Godzilla. This version was a fusion of Godzilla, Batra, and King Ghidorah. But when the chest area is damaged enough, it would form into Biollante's head that can fire powerful sap. It was also seen in a story about the Zillions who wanted to conquer Earth by using King Ghidorah. They would encounter Biollante living in space debris. When they fought, Biollante would absorb King Ghidorah's gravity beam and transform into a Biollante Ghidorah creature, but even in this state, it was still defeated. There were other stories with Biollante appearing in the comic books, but these ones were the most interesting. It also appeared in many video games. This creature was really different because it was a combination of Godzilla and human DNA along with a rose. I think the first form of Biollante was a bit silly, but the second form looked a lot better. So what did you think about Biollante? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like rating on it and subscribe with notifications turned on. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What is the Creeper in the movie Jeepers Creepers? This being was seen to be evil and demonic in nature. It rises from hibernation every 23 years during spring to feed on the flesh of human beings. Now, for 23 days after it awakens, it will terrorize people, hunting, stalking, killing whomever it chooses. Now, the Creeper was seen to wear a jacket dating back to the 19th century, along with a Stetson hat and trousers. He was seen to wear boots, but in the second movie, he removed them. Now its body is dark green in color with some scales. His head is bald with a small patch of hair on the back. It also has sharp needle-like teeth for tearing apart flesh, and its feet look like talons that resemble a bird. Although it is seen to have a nose, it also has a third nostril above it, and it's used as an extra sense. This extra sense allows the creeper to smell the fear in its victims, and chooses which one it wants to stalk. Now, one of its very unique features is the hood of skin that folds along the back of its head and neck area. It can spread out like an insect. This hood seemed to open up when the creeper showed intense anger or frustration. Now, its last feature are the giant wings on its back that are kept hidden underneath its clothing. These powerful wings allow the creeper to fly and even chase speeding vehicles. Its wings are also strong enough to capture and hold its prey. After it kills a victim, it tears off their flesh and bones to make art or weapons from them. It was seen to consume body parts from human beings, and it is believed it does this to replenish its own parts. Although it is seen to kill humans, it was shown to be very picky in who it wants, displaying a sense of preference by not killing everyone in sight, but instead selecting one target that the creeper will pursue. Along being incredibly strong and able to fly, it was seen to have some mechanical knowledge of at least the truck it drove. It had a custom license plate of "Be Eating You." The creeper knew how to drive the vehicle, as it was used to scare others on the road. This would in turn assist him in choosing if one of these people would be a suitable choice for eating. How the creeper has knowledge of a vehicle is unclear. But in the second movie, it loses its head and replaces it with a fresh head from its victim, so perhaps it acquires the memories of its victim. It also has the ability to crawl along the wall. This could be used in buildings where its wings would not be of any use. It was seen to be nearly indestructible, being able to regenerate any wounds and withstanding a lot of punishment. This being is very hard to kill. It is so strong that it can tear the limbs and flesh off a human, as well as rip apart the frames from automobiles. On many occasions, it was shown to be very resilient to damage. It was run over by a car, stabbed with a spear, and even took a large harpoon in the chest, but still, it was alive. It survived falling hundreds of feet from the sky, and after it rose, it tore its damaged head off, and a new head emerged from its chest and out of its neck. Now, during this process, we can see the claw and web remain on the torso while a new head emerges. This implies that the claw and web parts are the actual creeper, and the body is just a mutated or infected part of a human. This could imply that the creeper might be a parasite, or some type of symbiote that requires a host. As for other weapons it was seen to use, we have a medieval axe, some knives, and a shooting star. It seems the creeper uses the bone from its victims to carve up into small weapons, either to be used on its prey or to disable the tires on a vehicle. Now the knife weapon has some type of ability that flew across the room and into a wall on its own. Either it was attracted to flesh, or the creeper has some type of mental power over it. One of his knives also has a design of the creeper chasing a young boy in a cornfield. This somewhat resembles the scene where he kidnaps Billy Taggart. Now there was a deleted scene where the creeper did speak with a Western-like accent, so it's possible it gains the knowledge of anyone it consumes. Although it is never revealed what exactly the creeper is, some may say it is a demon, an alien creature, or some type of parasite. With the third and fourth movie not released yet, there is news that the creeper's origins and mythology will be explored later on. So what do you think the creeper is? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to see more content like this. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What are the creatures in the movie Critters? Known only as Krites by the Intergalactic Council, 8 specimens were being transported to a prison to be preserved. Although they were seen as vicious creatures, they were still allowed to thrive, but on a place that would not cause any imbalances in the population of another species. For being vicious little creatures, surprisingly, they were very intelligent. They formed a strategy in using the ventilation system to reach the humans on a rooftop, and later on escaped the burning factory by forming together into one giant Krite ball. And they can also use the controls of a spaceship to use its weapons or reroute the coordinates. Before they were relocated to a new station, they hijacked a ship and headed for Earth. Their body type can resemble a hedgehog or porcupine. Their bodies are round and covered in black fur. While only the first movie showed their stomachs to be hairless, the future sequels had this area covered in fur. Their limbs were small with tiny claws on their feet and hands. but their mouths were very large and filled with rows of sharp teeth used to attack their prey. The first movie displayed their fur appearing more soft and slicked back, when the sequels changed it to appear more spiky and wild. Their last two features were their flat noses and red eyes that appear to look like cat eyes. They are known to feed off almost anything, but they are known to be carnivorous in nature and prefer to eat live meat. Some animals that they have been known to eat are dogs, cows, chickens, goldfish, and they would also eat frozen hamburgers. But for some reason, they would eat some very obscure items like wood, paint, cleaning fluid, and experimental materials in a lab. When they are feeding, they normally do not leave anything left behind unless they are disturbed or threatened. If they eat enough, they can grow to bigger sizes. This was presumed to be a sign of maturity. The movie displayed them as mischievous creatures with vicious appetites. They would attack in a pack to take down their target, and normally one Krite would take command of the other Krites. They were seen to walk on their small legs, but they can cover ground quicker if they tuck into a ball and roll. In some occasions, they would even shoot their darts on their back towards an enemy. These were shown to be poisonous, and it could knock down a target until it was removed. The Krites could be killed by gunfire, explosions, or extremely hot temperatures. Now, their form of breeding was not shown or explained in the movie, but many eggs were seen. It's not clear if they reproduce by breeding with each other or if they reproduce on their own, but in the fourth movie, Dr. McCormick mentions that the company TerraCore was in search of a self-replicating species to use in their growth accelerator, so it's possible this was linked to the Krites, since Counselor Tetra was intent on retrieving the last Krite egg. He was a bounty hunter that was on a mission to hunt the Krites. So, if you've seen the Critters movies, what do you think about them? Do you find them scary at all? Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then leave a like and subscribe. To see more content like this, have a look around my channel, cause I've covered many creatures in film, so you might come across one that you'll like. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. What is the crow? People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes, something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul cannot rest. Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow can bring that soul back to put the wrong things right. Now, the original story about this character came from the comic book by James O'Barr. It was published in 1989 and was later on adapted into a film featuring Brandon Lee. The story was written by James as a way of dealing with the death of his girlfriend at the hands of a drunk driver. The origins of the crow are about a man named Eric who was killed on the side of a road by a group of thugs when his car broke down. He was shot twice in the head until he died. Then his girlfriend Shelley was raped and killed. When the crow brings him back from the dead, he returns to his apartment and starts to regain his memories. Tormented by the loss of the woman he loved, he learns of his powers and sets out to stalk and kill everyone involved with their murders. Along the way, he locates the merchant who purchased the engagement ring that was meant for Shelley, but later on, he gives this gift to a young girl named Sherry, who is neglected by her mother, who spends too much time with her boyfriend. Now, near the end of the story, Eric kills off everyone who is responsible for his and Shelley's murder. He then returns to Shelley's grave and finally joins her in death. This person is brought back by the crow as an instrument of revenge, granted invincibility and the power to regenerate any wounds by the crow that follows this person around. He also has no need for rest and can look through the eyes of the crow that guides him to his next target. He was seen to regain memories by touching anything that was linked to him, like a picture or even a human. This of course causes him great emotional pain to relive the life he lost. He can also transfer the pain of others and use it as a weapon against another person. They would feel the pain of the victim all at once. Now, in the first movie, he displayed a form of healing when Eric forced the morphine from Darla's arm just by touching her. His only weakness is the bird that grants him his power. It can be injured or killed. This would then remove the powers granted upon the host, which would make him mortal. If the people we love are stolen from us, The way to have them live on is to never stop loving them. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever. So if you're a fan of the Crow franchise, what do you think about it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel and enable notifications so you know when I upload a video. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. RoboCop 2 was a cyborg featured in the movie RoboCop 2, initially created to protect and to rid the city of the addictive drug known as nuke. This massive robot was heavily designed for combat, being fully armored and having multiple weapons and features that separates it from the original RoboCop. Since it was designed as a cyborg, a human part was still missing. Although various police officers were used as hosts in earlier models, they proved to be unsuccessful, possibly due to the lack of self-control, loyalty, and commitment when compared to the host of RoboCop 1. Since the prototypes were seen as failures, future funding was at risk, and as the RoboCop 2 cyborg was completed, it was left unused until a suitable host was found. Now, a drug leader known as Kane was in charge of the nuke cult, which planned to bribe the mayor to legalize the drug. Through the money the mayor would make in this deal, he would repay the debt to OCP. Now, at some point in the story, RoboCop took out some members of the gang, and during this event, Kane was badly injured. Now, he was visited by Dr. Juliet Fax, and she cut off his life support to kill him. His brain was then used for RoboCop 2. Now, the reason Kane was chosen as a host for RoboCop 2 was because of his addiction to the drug called nuke. Dr. Juliet Fax assumed she could use this drug to control Kane. Now, its body was monstrous and very different in design. Its face was a monitor with a digital projection of Kane's human face. It was protected by a slab of armor plating. Its entire body was impervious to most explosives and firearms, making it extremely hard to stop. Its body had floodlights, hinges, and pistons. It had claw-like hands and an extra limb on the right side that used a plasma torch used for cutting through metal. An assault cannon was mounted on its right shoulder. It also had an extra limb on the left side, which acted as a clamp used for crushing or gripping onto items. The left arm was also equipped with a battering ram that could retract for longer reach and a minigun. So its first mission was to follow the mayor to his meeting with the young Hobb, who was taken over the nuke cult after Kane died. RoboCop 2 kills everyone here and finds his old girlfriend, but suddenly, Kane grows angry and kills her too. Only the mayor escapes alive from this encounter. RoboCop 2 is then displayed at the Civic Center. The press was here to see the new RoboCop model that would clean up the city of the nuke drug. Things go wrong when Kane's drug addiction kicks in, and he tries to get the nuke drug from the old man who funded the RoboCop 2 project. Then, RoboCop shows up, armed with a Cobra assault cannon, and Kane breaks the control that Juliet had on him. He's now free to attack anyone on his own. Now at this point, a battle between RoboCop and Kane occurs. The Cobra assault cannon seems to not affect Kane's armored body. RoboCop then shoots down its shoulder-mounted cannon, but gets hit by the battering ram and goes flying through a wall. RoboCop then lures Kane to an elevator shaft and escapes to the top level by shooting a cable. Kane makes his way up the shaft, and they both end up on the roof hanging over the edge. RoboCop pulls Kane over the edge, and they both fall down to the ground. As they both get up, Kane tosses RoboCop around, and an explosion occurs when Kane's plasma torch cuts a fuel pipe. As Kane emerges from the explosion, he shoots multiple police officers and seems to be unstoppable. Then Officer Lewis uses an armored vehicle and rams it up against Kane. As it only slowed him down, Kane pushes the vehicle that trapped him to a wall. Lewis then uses a container of nuke to distract Kane, as RoboCop jumps onto his back. From here, RoboCop can reach Kane's only weakness, the back of his neck. He rips out Kane's brain and smashes it on the ground. This then disables the RoboCop 2 cyborg. Now, the RoboCop 2 model has appeared in other sources, and out of all the movies, this one is my favorite. I really liked its design. It appeared to have an intimidating appearance, and was armed with a lot of weapons and tools. So if you've seen the RoboCop movies, what do you think of them, and which one is your favorite? Put your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. My name is Asaglow, and I'll see you in the next video.